Good day, Doctor. My name is Nandini Ananthan, number MALAYSIA 2787111. For the introduction, the principle that government, how workers should behave while working for a particular company are known as management ethics. They are the guiding principle and regulation that have been decided upon by the executive management of an organization in order to clarify what behavior are acceptable and unacceptable inside the organizations. Practices resembling monopolies are prevalent in a significant number of nations all over the globe, including Malaysia. Monopolies have a certain moral and ethics flaws that need to be addressed. It prevents resources from entering monopolistic markets, redirects them to market with a no shortage, and eliminates incentives to make optimal use of available resources. Our group addresses monopolistic practice in Malaysia from 4 different angles, each of which focus on a different concept. Firstly, abusing market power is one of the monopolistic practice in Malaysia. Monopolistic means one company controls the whole market for the product or services. Monopolistic competitive firms must compete with other companies, which restricts their ability to raise price without hurting demand and giving consumers a variety of products. Secondly, Malaysians monopolistic practice are and abuse of intellectual property rights by monopoly firms. Intellectual property is a collection of intangible assets resulting from a human intelligence. Intellectual property, writers, and also inventors should have the exclusive rights to their writings and also discover from a particular time be given for full privilege over their works to ensure they are adequately compensated. Thirdly, Malaysian monopolistic practices also face socio-economic implications. These crucial sources is required but not sufficient for inflation. Due to the industry freedoms of entrance and departure, the latter is also true. So lastly, monopolistic practice in Malaysia are unfair labor practices and employee exploitations. To prevent their position, the management of companies emphasize working by restricting the legislation to keep their market positions. It suggests taking advantage of monopolistic forms of labor and maintaining power pay employee levels even in marketplace with all and healthy competition.
Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to convey my gratitude and greetings to our sir, Mr. Raju, and I am Kadrisan Ganesan, matric number 279525, who would like to continue the presentation of our assignment about monopolistic practices in Malaysia. The first issue we found and analyzed was abusing of market power by dominant corporations in Malaysia. On this current time, monopolies provide one firm or a small number of companies a lot of market power which they may exploit to their advantage. Abuse includes price manipulation, and monopolies may raise price substantially higher than in competitive market, raising consumer expenses. Customers are obligated to pay this artificial price, which may strain their budget and be unadjusted. The year 2010 Malaysia Competition Council (MCC) poll and survey showed that respondents consider monopolistic companies fix the price, and 71% of respondents agree and strongly agree that these monopolies raise their product price consistently. Monopolistic practices in Malaysia can have detrimental effects on competition, innovation, and consumer choices. When a dominant company suppresses competition, it creates barriers that prevent new entrants and smaller business from thriving in the market. This lack of competition hampers economic growth and deprives consumers of the benefits that arise from a diverse marketplace. By eliminating or significantly reducing competition, monopolistic practices hinder the incentives of the innovations. However, in a monopolistic market, the dominant company has little incentive to innovate or invest in research and development since there is no immediate competitive threat. For an example, in this context of telecommunication sector, monopolistic practices can have profound effects on consumer options and technological advancement. A dominant telecom company can control their infrastructure, network, and service, and also creating barriers for new providers to enter the market. Therefore, the concept and theories which can relate to this ethical issue in monopolistic practices is capital justice. Monopoly practices in Malaysia can be argued to violate capital justice, a principle rooted in the concept of a free market economy, where competition is valued and economic power is distributed among multiple players. Capital justice emphasizes fairness, equal opportunity, and the absence of barriers that prevent market participants from freely engaging in economic activities. In various aspects, monopolistic tactics go counter to the ideas of capital justice. Effective regulatory framework and competition policies are vital for addressing the ethical problems underlying monopolistic actions in Malaysia. These safeguards are designed to stop monopolistic practices and establish a level playing field that is good for companies and consumers alike. Anti-monopoly laws and competition laws are two examples of laws and regulations that are part of regulatory framework that are intended to counteract monopolistic activity. Anti-competitive activities are prohibited and consequences for infractions are set in place. Regulatory frameworks discourage monopolistic activity and provide authorities to putting on bids to take enforcement action against businesses that participate in unfair activities by establishing explicit norms and principles. That's all from me. I pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Pavitran Raman. 279412 is my metric number and I am going to present about the second issue in this topic, which is socio-economic implication. Monopolistic market has a variety of socio-economic implications that may affect on a variety of stakeholders as well as the general economy. Company might aim to differentiate its product from those of its rival in a number of ways, including the product's physical characteristics, point of sale, intangible characteristics, and consumer perception. As a result, the monopoly will continue to be the only vendors in the market. Entry barriers are the obstacle that prevent other business from entering a market and competing with monopolies. Monopolized resources, governmental laws, and the production process all contribute to the entry obstacles. Monopolistic competition effects on the distribution of income can be much complex in this situation. On the other hand, companies with market strength can generate higher income and profit, increasing the income of the company's owners and shareholders. Higher costs brought on by market dominance may burden customers with a lower income, escalating economic disparities. From these concepts and theories which can relate to this ethical issue is market concentration and power. Number of changes to the economy that are significant for monetary policy could occur if market power among enterprises is increasing. Besides that, fairness and justice demand that everyone has an equal chance to engage in economic activity and profit from the market. So, several solutions might be thought of to mitigate these socio-economic effects in this issue is enforce antitrust laws and regulations to stop monopolies from abusing their market dominance and engaging in anti-competitive behavior. Second is market liberalization, which helps to lessen the negative effect of monopolies. And the third solution could be consumer protection legislation to defend consumers' interest in monopolistic market.
I am Reena Rajendran. My metric number is 277189. I will be discussing the abuse of intellectual property rights by monopoly firms in Malaysia, highlighting the ethical concerns like anti-competitive practices, rent-seeking behavior, and patent trolling. I'll also explore the ethical concept of utilitarianism and suggestions to address this issue. Intellectual property rights such as patent, copyrights, and trademarks aim to protect innovation and creativity. However, when monopoly firms abuse these rights, ethical concerns arise. Anti-competitive practices like strategic patent lawsuits and barriers to entry limit consumer choice, hinder innovation, and impede economic growth. Rent-seeking behavior occurs when monopoly firms exploit intellectual property rights to extract excessive profits without adding value. This harms smaller competitors, restricts consumer choice, and erodes trust in the economic system. Patent trolling is a prevalent form of abuse where firms acquire patents for litigation purposes. This stifles innovation, burdens company with legal expenses, and obstructs technological progress. Utilitarianism and ethical concept evaluates action based on their overall consequences and their ability to maximize welfare for the majority. From a utilitarian perspective, the abuse of intellectual property rights in Malaysia leads to negative consequences for the society by reducing the overall welfare. To address this ethical issue, we can implement suggestions. Strengthening competitive laws and regulation is vital to deter abusive monopolistic practices, encouraging innovation and collaboration through intellectual property sharing and open resources initiative foster a competitive environment and prevents misuse. Additionally, improving intellectual property regulation is necessary to strike a balance between protection and prevention of abuse. Regular reviews and revisions of regulations can clarify approval criteria and impose a stricter penalties for patent trolling. In conclusion, the abuse of intellectual property rights by monopoly firms in Malaysia raises ethical concerns regarding anti-competitive practices, rent-seeking behavior, and patent trolling. By applying the ethical framework of utilitarianism and implementing suggestions such as strengthening competitive laws and encouraging innovation, we can address this concern and create a fair and innovative business environment. Thank you.
I'm Revati Suresh Kumar and my matrix number is 276973, and I will be presenting on our fourth issue, which is unfair labor practices and employee exploitation. Throughout this presentation, we will explore the ethical implications of these practices, relevant ethical theories and concepts, and suggestions to address this critical issue. These practices have raised concerns about inadequate compensation, poor working conditions, job insecurity, and limited employee rights. Monopolies in Malaysia can suppress wages, minimize labor costs, and subject employees to poor working conditions. This violates employee rights, compromise their well-being, and raise ethical concerns. Such practices prioritize the financial interests of this dominant company at the expense of employee welfare. Right-based ethics emphasize the importance of respecting employees' fundamental rights. Ethical management should prioritize the protection of employee rights, creating a workplace that upholds the dignity and fairness of employees. Unfair labor practices perpetuate social injustice and income inequality. Ethical management should strive to create a just and equitable workplace, providing equal opportunities and fair treatment to all employees. Stakeholder theory highlights the responsibility of monopolies to consider the interests of all stakeholders, including employees. Ethical management should value employee welfare and contribution, fostering a positive work environment. These practices have detrimental effects on employee well-being and dignity. To address the ethical issue, we propose a few suggestions. Enforce strict labor laws and regulations to protect workers' rights, ensuring their fair wages and safe working conditions. Promote labor union and collective bargaining for stronger employee representation. Encourage transparency and accountability through regular audits and inspection to ensure compliance with labor standards. Foster a more diverse and competitive market to reduce monopolistic dominance. In conclusion, unfair labor practices and employee exploitation resulting from monopolistic practices in Malaysia have raised ethical concerns. By applying ethical theories and concepts, we can gain insight into the issue and propose effective solutions.
My name is Kasturi Narayana Rao and my matrix number is 276930. I will present the conclusion of our assignment by addressing the ethical concerns of monopolistic practices in Malaysia, which includes the market power abuse, abuse of intellectual property rights, consumer welfare and employee rights. To tackle these concerns, we need effective regulatory frameworks, competition policies and consumer protection measures. Governments and regulatory bodies plays a crucial role in enforcing antitrust laws and safeguarding consumers and employees. Embracing ethical practices ensures trust, consumer satisfaction, and long-term success. The future of monopolistic practices is influenced by technology regulations and consumer behavior. Ongoing studies are essential to create a better framework. Finally, I will present the ethical lesson learned from monopolistic practices in Malaysia. The ethical issue derived from monopolistic practices in Malaysia, which is the abuse of market power, abuse of intellectual property rights, unfair labor practices, and socio-economic implications, highlight the importance of fairness, equity, consumer welfare, and employee rights. Creating a level playing field and promoting fair competition is crucial. Ethical management prioritizes consumer welfare, ensuring access to reasonably priced, high-quality goods and service while protecting their rights. Monopolistic practices harm consumers with higher prices, lower quality and limited options. Upholding employee rights, providing fair compensation, safe working conditions, job security and growth opportunities are fundamental considerations. So, the ethical lesson learned from this is by embracing fairness, equity and social responsibilities, organizations can create a fair marketplace that protects consumers, respects employees and fosters trust and long-term success. Thank you.